Okay. 5 reasons why I start my own seeds indoors. I get to choose the varieties that I want instead of Home Depot and Lowe's. The seed catalogs are full of a lot of cool varieties, and I love to experiment each year. One plant at the store costs $2.50, and a packet of seeds costs a lot less. If you start from seeds, you get the joy of gardening for 10 months. And the number one reason I start my own seeds, it's really cool to start your own tomatoes from seeds and then 4 months later to bite into that tomato. I store my seeds. I store my seeds in the freezer between seasons. I save them. I save all the old seeds, squeeze out the air, put them in a Ziploc bag. And then before I plan my garden for the new year, I order new seeds. I take out the old ones and I see what I have, throw out some of the ones that are really old because they lose some of their energy the longer they're around. But I do have some chili pepper seeds that I got it from a friend in New Mexico that are 13 years old that still make these beautiful long green chili seeds. So the freezer is a good place to go. You'll learn which ones you need to replace and how long they'll last the longer you do this. There's another reason. I'll just skip one. There's another reason that I use the freezer, and that's because as I open it, I get to see all the soups and sauces that I've put up, and it gives me the motivation to keep on. Before you start, you want to do some planning. The last frost date here is May 15th. With climate change, it's back to about May 7th or May 1st. So you want to back up. When do you start your seeds? You look on the little packet. You see how many weeks it's going to take for the seed to grow to the point that you can set it out. You count backwards. On the calendar from May 1st if you choose, like I choose, and write them all down because you'll forget for sure. Okay, so you've got a plan. Now you need some space. I took a couple of sawhorses, put an old kitchen counter on top. That's where I do my potting, my seeding, in the basement, in the workshop. Kitchen counter's just fine. Put a piece of plastic down, some newspaper, be able to fill the pots and do everything you need to do right there. The potting mix, it's always about the soil. It's always about the soil. Go ahead and treat yourself to some real potting mix. Don't use the soil from the yard. There'll be fungus in it and diseases and bugs and all sorts of stuff. It'll be too compacted. It needs to be loose. I like to use Fertilome Ultimate. It was suggested to me by a friend, and it's great. Get it wet first. Damp, but not soaking wet. You want it to feel a little bit spongy. If you don't, the water will run off the pot. I promise you, if you put it in dry, it's not going to soak up the water. So get it nice and damp. It's all about the soil, but you need to put it in something. Use what you have. I use old pots. I use these old guys from year to year. I've got a bin full of them. You can use yogurt containers, plastic cups, whatever you have. Make sure you put holes in the bottom for drainage because you're going to need the drainage. Fill the pots. I reuse those 3-inch pots. I put them in trays that don't have any holes so that when I water they don't leak out. Don't press the soil down too hard when you fill the pots. You want to leave it a little bit springy. You want some oxygen in there for those baby roots to find. Plant 2 seeds per pot. If they're a little older, I put an extra one in just in case. So maybe it's 3 seeds per pot. 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. They say it's about twice the diameter of the seed. So the smaller one's 1/4 inch, the other one's 1/2 inch. And just kind of tamp down the soil a little bit so that the seeds are in contact with the soil when you're finished. Label every pot as soon as you finish. Trust me, I have more mystery plants at the end of the season than I want to tell you about. I use popsicle sticks. I cut up milk cartons. You can write on them with Sharpies. 3 things that seeds need in order to germinate: warmth, moisture, and light. Warmth, moisture, and light. That combination breaks down the enzymes in the seeds, lets them sprout, and those first leaves come up. You can add heat from the warmth from the bottom. This is a heating pad for germinating. If you've got an old one for your back, you can use that too. You don't want it to be too warm, just barely warm, 80 to 90 degrees. And as soon as the seeds germinate, you take them off the heating pad. You take them off the heat. Sometimes I put it on an old refrigerator to get a little heat. Whatever you have, add a little heat from the bottom. Keep the pots moist. Not wet. The plants will die if they're too wet. Use a spray bottle maybe when you're first starting out, just to keep the tops of the pots damp. And again, not too wet. And check your seeds every day. Every day it becomes part of the routine. Let there be light. I use those cheap fluorescent fixtures that you can get at the big box store. 2 daylight tubes. You want the mix of the red and the blue light, which is like the sunlight. Don't use your windowsill, because in Cincinnati we don't get much sun in February and March and April. So invest a little bit in the lights. I created the tanning bed. Piece of tin foil on each side and some tape down the middle to hold it in place. You can just flip it back up when you need to water. Keep the light about 2 inches above the plant. Don't let it touch the leaves or they'll burn. And it makes like a nice little tanning bed. All plants need food. After the true leaves come out, the first real leaves that are going to stay, it's time for some liquid plant food. You can use fish emulsion if you can stand the smell. You can use some other kind of a liquid food. Half strength while you've got the plants in the house once a week. When the seeds become plants, these were my basil plants that I started for you all, it may be time to transplant them to a bigger pot. Transplanting is another discussion. I'd be glad to answer some questions about it a little bit later. If you don't transplant them, well, maybe you eat them. These were peas that I planted for you. We cut them and put them on our salads, and this was lettuce. We used that as microgreens on our sandwiches. That's part of the joy, is to make something that you can enjoy right away. The basil, probably ready to start pulling the big leaves off the basil. So there's one more step. Before you can take the plants, you have to harden them off. Before you take them outside, you have to harden them off. You can't just take a plant outside, put it in the wind, put it in the sun, get it sunburned, it'll die. So it's a slow, gradual process. We can talk about that a little bit later on if anybody wants to know a little bit about. There's a nice procedure, takes a week to 2 weeks to harden off the plants so that they're ready when you take them outside. And that's what you get if you're lucky.